Hello, how's everyone doing here today? I'm here with special guest Whitney Davis. Whitney Davis is studying at USC Electrical Engineering, where she will do something with that in freedom, hopefully. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm okay. I guess let's talk. I guess there's a lot to talk about. Let's talk about, I guess, um, let's talk about Ferguson first, because that's the newest.
Yeah. Man, this is an issue that I really want to bring up police brutality because that's pretty obvious. But it's one of those cases that isn't that clear cut, where the police officer might actually be justified with self-defense. We don't really know because there wasn't an actual trial on it.
Yeah.
Um, so so it's not the best case to bring up police brutality, and that's the frustrating part.
Right.
I haven't been watching the news until today because I don't like to be exposed to that overly emotional news media. So I get my news from the internet. But my grandparents were watching the news while I was there earlier, and I thought it was funny that Fox News was calling all these people wearing the Guy Fawkes mask Occupy Wall Street. Saying that was
Yeah.
Occupy Wall Street doing this. And all I've heard was it was anonymous. I don't know. Have you heard anything about that?
I did see one guy with the red and black flag. What is it? The anarcho leftist, oxymoron people.
Yeah.
I, who I don't know. I think what they hate government because they believe it protects property, right? So they hate government for the exact opposite reason that
I
we
never
hate government.
actually knew why they hated government. That's a good point. I just know that they
Well,
didn't like government and they didn't like hierarchy at all.
right. Well, if you hate hierarchy, you have to chop part of people's legs who are taller than I guess 5'10" and 5'5" for a woman. Um,
Sound
but
good.
no, I think that I mean, look, like Noam Chomsky, right? I mean, he did a video where he criticized Ron Paul for wanting to end the Federal Reserve, and he calls himself an anarchist. So that to me doesn't make
Wow.
sense. How can you say I'm an anarchist, but we have to have a central bank?
That's
It have
that's
to be an
almost
anarchist.
doubly nonsensical because it's also a private banks getting special privilege by the government.
No, well, it's not a private bank. It
It's
was
made up
signed into
of private
law
banks.
by the government. It was enacted by the government. It would go out of business without a government. The chair of the department is hired by the government. So I don't think it's a private bank. A private bank
What
is
about
privately
all
funded.
the
And hmm?
what's it called? Um, I don't know, some board of directors kind of thing. It's not board of directors, I can't think of it, but there's certain banks that make up that in the Federal Reserve.
Oh yeah, it's a banking cartel, but I wouldn't
Yeah.
call it. To me, private is not just privately owned. It's privately owned and privately funded. So,
Well, of
um,
course, of course. I mean,
right?
that would mark out so many corporations that we have today.
Oh yeah, I don't
I
consider
mean,
Lockheed a private business. I don't consider Disney a private business. Uh, I mean, yes, most are probably not in this day and age, but I'm not really sure what they stand for, to be honest. I mean, I was doing a video with Robert Kruger where a bunch of people came on because they're anarchists, I guess, who hate capitalism. So I said to a bunch of them, there were like 4 or 5 of them, why do you hate capitalism? And they go, that's a good question. I have to think about that. What does that even mean? You don't know why you hate something? If someone asked me why I hate the state, I wouldn't have to think.
yeah, I actually got asked that today by my grandpa, and I'm like, well, first of all, it's inefficient. I mean, it, and morality, of course, but I've, I have quite a few nihilists on my page these days that like to call me out on morality, and there's no such thing, and so I I I don't buy into that personally, but I do like to argue by the efficiency aspect or inefficiency aspect of the government, because that is something that I feel you can't argue against. Even if, no matter what your moralities are, you can't argue against the inefficiency unless you don't know what you're talking
Right.
about.
Right. No, I guess I would agree. I mean, I'm not, to me, efficiency is not necessarily the most important goal. It depends
Right.
what you're efficient in. Obviously, you know, if someone was hired by the government to build gas chambers for the Nazis, I hope the more inefficient, the better.
Well, that's true.
So it's what you're efficient in. But anyway, to get back to Ferguson, so I think there were some people. Yeah, there you had like cars driving in the road, and they did plow over some people. But you're in the road, you're an idiot. You sort of get, you know, they could just be attacked. I think it's self-defense. And you did see one of these guys with the half red, half black flag. That's some anarcho bullshit thingamajiggy. And he was like attacking the car. And I said, see, he doesn't believe in property.
Yeah. I don't understand. I mean, why were they burning down buildings? What sparked that?
Well, first of all, I mean, I think there are many reasons why people join a
I understand
riot.
looting, but burning. I understand looting. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. But as far as burning,
well, I don't know. I guess if you're angry and upset,
I guess so.
Why do people throw acid in people's face? You know, you're angry, I guess. So,
well,
right.
now they have troops in Ferguson.
Mm-hmm.
What I saw.
Right.
So.
Well, they had troops sort of there the whole time. I mean, what sort of pisses me off about Ferguson is, first of all, if you're going to protest the police. Don't just go and trash innocent store owners that had nothing to do with anything, and don't riot, don't create havoc, and it's not even in your self-interest to do so. Now, if you're making this about a race issue, which is not, okay, policemen didn't, the guy didn't kill him because his last name was Brown. He killed him because his name was Michael. Policemen don't care, black, white, orange, purple. They just kill everyone. They're a gang of thieves, and they're narcissistic, and they have an ego. But I think if you're making it a race issue and then you start rioting, I think you prove the naysayers correct. What are they going to say? Look at these monkeys rioting. See, they're uncivilized.
Yeah, I saw some pretty bad memes that don't even.
What?
Like, are you sure?
This is not a politically correct.
Well, it was a racist one, like Planet of the Apes. They meanwhile in Ferguson, and it's like, oh god, this is not making things better. But no, whenever you loot and riot in the ways that they did, it almost proves that what the police officer did was justified in some people's minds. And it distracts people from the issue. There's a real issue that can be discussed here. You can really discuss, their justifiable use of force. And that's not being discussed for obvious reasons. I mean, what's the benefit of news media talking about that?
Right. Well, they're never going to discuss it. I mean, it's always just about, this is racism or any stuff like that. Just these artificial distractions.
Yeah.
That look, he didn't kill. If he was white, would he have been alive? The police never kill white people. This is just ridiculous.
Yeah, people just never hear about them killing white people. I mean, I didn't know who Kelly Thomas was until I moved to Los Angeles. And, most people over there actually know because it was in Fullerton, which is close. And I had no idea about the case. But it was a huge deal in Fullerton, in Southern California. Yeah. And I just talking to even people. Oh, okay. In Arkansas, I worked with the Tea Party here, and it was a mix of libertarians and conservatives. And even talking to other libertarians, they don't see the problem in this. Now, I say libertarians, not anarchists. I think most anarchists kind of see the problem with this because it's pretty clear that, if you kill someone, it needs to be justified, and maybe it was justifiable in here, but we don't really know that. I mean, from what I heard, there was conflicting evidence.
Right.
So it might have been better to have a trial and actually prove it. Mm-hmm. But that's not going to happen because he was a police officer. So he was probably justified in doing it because that's part of his job.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, I think it was probably justified. And as I said, online, if it's coming up in the mainstream media, then it's probably a justified shooting. And if they sweep it under the rug, it's probably unjustified. But yeah, I mean, people are acting crazy. In my school here in San Jose, there was a bunch of people like 2 days ago or yesterday protesting and walking down the street, and they're saying, whose lives matters? And they said, Black Lives Matters. And I just want to respond, everyone.
I know! That bothers me so bad because they're turning it into a race thing, whether it's the news media turn it into a race thing or Black people turn it into a race thing. We're being victimized by the police, and we've always been victimized by the police. I mean, everyone is victimized whenever it comes to that, especially when it comes to no-knock raids. And I mean, that's more a SWAT team, but it's still part of the militarization of the police state. And no, okay, that was about to be fear-mongering. I was about to say no one is safe, but it doesn't matter about race. And the fact that the news media is making it about race, and the fact that people that are actually paying attention to this are making it about race, like I said before, there is an issue to be made. There is a point to be made from this, and it is not about race. I've been trying to counter that on Twitter because apparently that's a battleground Twitter.
And look, and this is all a bunch of bullshit. I see right through it. No, none of these race baiters care about living in a world where people are peaceful, right? People like feeling like victims. People like being angry. You wouldn't say Black Lives Matter. You would say everyone.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't say anarchist lives matter,
Right.
Statists have rights too. I don't particularly care as much that their rights are violated because they have no problem violating other people's, but they still have them.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, this is just causing division and.
Did you see the tweets by that Black rapper Azalea Banks, I think was her name? I don't actually know who she is. I just saw the tweet. She was talking about how she wanted to kill crackers in their sleep over this, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm just kidding, guys. But this really makes me mad."
Oh, that's a great way to have people like you more, by threatening to kill them.
I know. There are white people that are joining in on this. I mean, why cut them out?
Yeah, I agree. So I guess on a side note, let's talk, because I think you said you talked about this the yes means yes campaign. Yes means yes, no means no, maybe means yes. That was it.
So supposedly the new law in California, I forgot the bill number, but the new law, yes means yes. They should have called it yes means yes, except sometimes it means no, because that's really what it is. It's I haven't seen since I got interviewed about it, they haven't come out with all the students that they interviewed yet, but basically, for your audience, if they're not familiar with it, what was passed in California, it It was basically bribing universities to adopt a standard for what could be a punishable offense of sexual assault. So if you didn't establish something that the state of California approved within this bill, then they would withdraw funding from your university. So I call that bribery, but you know, some people call it politics. So they clearly define consent as voluntary, conscious, and what was the third one? Affirmative, which are all these vague terms that make sense. I mean, obviously consent has to be voluntary, and obviously you should be conscious, and it should be affirmative. That's what consent is. But it doesn't say if it should be verbal, or if it should be written, or if it should be recorded if it's verbal, if it should be ongoing. I mean...
Wait, before we have sex, here, sign this.
I know, it's a little ridiculous, but they're making a law about it.
That really kills the mood. That really kills the mood.
I know. Wait. Yeah, so they say that consent can be withdrawn at any point in time. They say that they don't say what consent is, but they do say that consent is not given when under the influence of alcohol or other drugs. It is not having a previous dating relationship. It is not being silent, or not a lack of rejection, lack of resistance, and all these things. And basically when you read it, it sounds like something that when you're teaching your kids about drugs and alcohol and the birds and the bees and stuff, that this is something you should give them to read for their own behavior, how they should behave themselves. But it's not good for law, because that is invading your privacy. Not only that, but you don't have due process through the state. Not that I'm advocating for due process for the state, but the only kind of legal system that we have right now is through the state for that. And so it depends on how your university deals with these issues. They can totally just kick you out if they think, you know, that you assaulted someone. For example, there was a female, it was in California, I forgot the university, and she had sent text messages, you know, talking a certain way, talking about condoms and things like that. Basically, what you would think would be consent. And it was text messages, and it wasn't verbal, it was something solid. And they still kicked the guy out of the university just because I don't even know why. Maybe just because they didn't want something bad to happen, some backlash from feminists or something. I'm not sure why they give in to this.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about this, because I think this is an important issue. So there's this lie. You know, there are three types of lies: lies, damned lies, and rape statistics. So there was you sort of, it depends who you're talking to. Some say 1 in 4. Some say 1 in 5 women are victims of rape in college campuses, which is, I mean, you have to be an idiot to believe it. 25% of women in your universities are victims of rape. That's the the highest crime rate in the city for just petty theft is maybe 3, 4, 5%.
Yeah.
So to say 1 out of 5 women is a victim of rape is crazy. So how did they get this number? You had Miss Magazine, one of these feminist magazines, come, and they interviewed women about different scenarios under sex. And they didn't say to them, they didn't interview 25% of women, and they said, oh, were you raped? They basically said, did you have sex when drunk? Did you have sex this? Did you have sex like this? And then they interpret it as, oh, that's rape. Mm-hmm. This is just right, which is ridiculous. I mean, if you define having sex, if you're drunk and that counts as rape, most people are not going to ever be able to have sex. I mean, there are certain people.
I know. I was about to say, who hasn't done that in college?
I mean, yeah. I mean, alcohol's good here. And look, if you're responsible for drunk driving, you're responsible for drunk sex.
Mm-hmm.
So at least let's be consistent.
Yeah.
And what if two drunk people both have sex? Do they both rape each other?
That's the contradiction. Nobody knows. But apparently, if you were born a male, then you are a rapist.
Right. So yes, exactly right. That it's just a way to throw more men in prison, and it's just a way for people to say, "Oh, I regret having sex with this person," and now it's all these insane things.
Yeah.
If you say you're rich to someone, or you say you'll marry them, that counts as rape because you were dishonest.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
That's
ridiculous.
All relationships are based on lies. You're never going to get laid if you tell them. Okay, they're all based on lies. Okay, fine. So women should never wear makeup, right? Yeah. I mean, that's rape. You didn't look that way without makeup. Rape. Or you're wearing a push-up bra that your breasts don't really look like that. That's rape.
Yep. Now they have butt pads too.
Everyone is trying to sell themselves when they get laid. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Right? I want to convince you to have sex with me, and I'll say what I need to say, and it's your fault for believing it, right? I don't think
You know, here's something that I wonder, and I probably don't have any solid evidence for this, but you know how there's a double standard for women generally. Men can sleep with as many people as they want, women can't because they're called whores or whatever. I kind of wonder if this new rape culture thing is a reaction to that. If it's kind of getting back at men for this double standard.
But I think the double standard makes sense.
I mean, I don't really care about it.
I think the double standard makes sense. And the double standard makes sense for a few reasons. One, there are more negative consequences for women when it comes to having sex than men. Men can't get pregnant. Women can. So if you're just willing to sleep with an average person as a guy, there's not really that much consequences for you. It's easier for women to contract STDs, and they get pregnant. So I think those two reasons, in my view, is the reason for this, quote, double standard. That because the penalties are more severe for women when it comes to having sex.
Well, that and it's probably easier for women to find more partners. So it's not as much of a challenge, and so what's so respectable about it?
Men are not picky. There's a bit by George Carlin where some guy says, "Let's have sex with her," and George Carlin says, "That's a sign pole." Men are not. It's very easy to get laid. You don't even have to be attractive. If you're a woman, it's relatively easy.
I think that's where the double standard comes from. Is
right. There's a joke that all you need is a pulse, and even that is a lie. You don't even need that. So,
I guess technically you don't, but some people might frown upon that.
Right. Well, that's not conscious, so maybe that's right.
Right.
Yeah. So this yes means yes thing. And you can't even talk about rape. Like even if you question rape, like there are certain things that I question about what is considered rape. Like certain people got mad at me when I said I don't think it's rape if you don't pull out right away. And the analogy I gave, and maybe it's offensive, is if I steal your car, that's theft. But if you lend me your car and you say give it to me Monday at 4 o'clock, and I give it to you either Tuesday, I didn't really steal your car. I just didn't return it when you wanted me to.
Yeah.
So I don't know if pulling out when you don't want me to is rape. It's not nice, but I wouldn't call it rape.
Yeah. Here's my biggest issue with this is that there are serious cases of rape. And when I say rape, I mean completely unconsensual, sober, sometimes stranger, sometimes not, actual cases of rape. and there are people that are actually affected by that, both physically and mentally. And these people like to group these together, and so when we're talking about it, you know, we can't, like you said, you can't question it, because if you question it, then they think you might be questioning the actual rape, and you know, that's, to me, actually the important part, to me, that kind of rape, actual rape where it's completely unconsensual, I feel that the majority of the country knows that that is wrong. And anyone who thinks that's right probably can't be reasoned with, and they probably can't, you know, be taught that that is wrong, because there's something wrong with them. And so the way of dealing with that is through self-defense and maybe punishment afterwards. But when it comes to this gray area where everyone's intoxicated and did she actually give consent or this, or did he give consent or whatever, you know, that's stuff that we can actually talk about. You know, how intoxicated should a woman or a man be to where, you know, it's disrespectful. I want to call it rape, but, you know, where it's disrespectful. You know, we can talk about that.
Out unconscious, that's rape. But I don't think that's what we're talking about.
But I'm just saying, I know a lot of men in Arkansas, you know, when I went to college, that they took care of women. They didn't take advantage of them when they were drinking, and that's just how they were raised. And I think this gray area can actually be discussed, and we can actually say, well, I think this was, maybe you should err on this side. Maybe you should take care of them instead of do this or whatever. But, you know, it really depends on how drunk the man is too. I mean, it's not just a one-sided thing. But it's something that can be discussed. It's people that can be reasoned with. You know, I think people think that men are just going around and they're just crazy and they're just going to rape you no matter what. I mean, that's not... That's not what goes on. And, you know, grouping these two types of people together isn't going to fix this issue. If they actually want to fix the issue, they have to separate this gray area and the pretty black and white area. And we should be able to discuss freely and openly the gray area so that we can limit the number of what they want to call sexual assault. I'd rather just say it's, you know, people making bad decisions or people being disrespectful, that they weren't raised to take care of women that way, you know. It's not helping towards the end goal if they actually want to address this issue.
And I also think you do yourself a disservice, because if you call things rape that are not really rape, like you're drunk, but you said yes, and we're not talking passed out, obviously that's rape, but yeah. Right. Then all you're doing, in my view, is making rape sound less severe than it is. All you're doing is diluting the severity of rape. All you're saying is, oh, if that rape's not so bad. If all rape is a woman is a little buzzed when she has sex, I guess rape's no big deal. So if you're really against rape, to make it seem less severe than it is, like sort of this insane video with that woman walking around.
In New York.
Hours, and everyone called it harassment. That's not fucking... First of all, harassment is constant annoyance. Harassment isn't, have a nice day. Hey, I don't want you to say have a nice day. That's not harassment. Harassment is constantly calling you on the phone, constantly following you. It's right. There was one guy who apparently followed her for 5 minutes. Okay, that was kind
creepy.
That's creepy. But the rest, we assume, since it's a 2-minute video, they're probably showing us the worst because they want to make a point. And the rest, what were the rest? Have a nice day. Damn, you look good. And maybe it's just me, but I really have no sympathy for people whose biggest complaint is too many people like me. I really have no sympathy at all. That's like a person...
Sorry, people find me attractive.
Right, exactly. It's like a person with a lot of food talking to someone who's starving and saying, I have all this food and I don't know what to do with it. You don't know how stressful my life is. I'm like, fuck you, you're spoiled brat.
Totally. I mean,
Look. I mean, I would love if someone else did a video where this woman is walking down the street and everyone says, "Hey, you're a fat piece of shit." And everyone's like, "Hey, what did you say?" And they're like, "Hey, I could have said have a nice day. I could have said you're beautiful."
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
Right? Like, I'd be flattered if I'm walking down the street and a woman says, "Hey, nice penis." I'd be like, "Thanks for noticing," or something. You know? I wouldn't be upset.
Yeah, and to be honest, like, okay, in the South that doesn't really happen. You don't really get told, "Hey, beautiful, hey, sexy, blah blah blah." You know, you hear, "Have a nice day," people wave at you, and that's nice. That's considered, you know, when you're within a community, that's considered friendly. But what happened to that lady does happen in the city a lot, and to be quite honest, it makes my day when someone's like, "Hey, beautiful," or "Have a nice day." I'm like, "I will. Thank you." I mean,
right.
That's totally fine.
Even if they're trying to hit on you, so what? They're not violent. Look, the 5-minute thing was creepy, but they're not violent. You know, people just want to meet people. You know, they're just walking up. They figured maybe she'll say yes. What do I lose? And it's the ultimate hypocrisy, because if it was people she found attractive, is she going to say, "Hey, how dare Brad Pitt walk up to me?" Give me a fucking break. It's just with people you find unattractive, and you're just a narcissist. And you know she's a narcissist. She calls herself an actress. What has she been in? Maybe a Doritos commercial? Yeah. I mean, this was it. You're not why are you an actress?
They're the worst. I mean, why even go into acting? Like, there's nothing beneficial towards humanity. It's all about themselves.
Yeah, no,
sorry,
it's
actors.
Yeah, right. Hollywood is DC for attractive people, as they say. So no, I mean I mean, it is just, you're unworthy of me, and now I'm insulted. And I think it's that narcissism. It's, I'm so attractive and you're ugly. You think you can hit on someone like me? I mean, that's what I think really what it is. And look, I have no sympathy. Too many people like you. Well, boo-hoo for you. There are a lot of people who can't get any dates. There are a lot of people who, when they walk down the street, are called hurtful names. So you should count your blessings that instead of people saying, "Why don't you kill yourself, you fat, ugly person," people are showering you with compliments, even if they're not.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, but, okay, no, I don't know if I should bring that up. But did you see what she was wearing? I'm sorry, she was still wearing tight clothes. No, she was still wearing tight clothes, and you could still see she was a very shapely woman, a very blessed woman. And I would be interested to see if she was in, you know, loose-fitting clothes, if it would be the same. I feel like making that video, they were trying to be conservative with the clothing by not showing any cleavage or no belly or anything like that, but I still think that they were trying to provoke something, because that wasn't the most conservative clothing they could have chosen. And again, it doesn't matter how you dress, blah, 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 but it does. I mean, come on.
I mean, I don't know. I sort of disagree with you there. I mean, I saw her on interviews, and she looks way more attractive in interviews.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think she made herself look particularly good. I mean, I saw the video. I'm like, yeah, she's not that hot. I mean, look, I don't walk up to women.
I thought she was. I don't know. Okay. Maybe I'm too straight to even know what's going on.
Well, if you find her attractive, I don't know how straight you are. But no, I mean, would I do anything? Well, I'm a guy, so that it doesn't matter if I find her attractive or not. But I mean, she wasn't unattractive, but nothing that there are plenty of more attractive women like that walking down the street.
Okay. I don't know. I just felt that the clothing was a bit tight and probably provoked some things. Maybe not. I haven't seen her outside that, so I don't know.
And then you have this thing with this astronaut in his shirt.
Oh, I love his shirt though. It's awesome.
And it was given to him by it was given by a woman.
Yeah.
And I mean, this guy did some amazing scientific discovery, and instead of celebrating it, you just like, "I don't like your shirt." What an ass! Oh,
I know.
Lord. It's really obnoxious.
That's what I said, is they have no idea what engineers and scientists go through. They don't understand how isolated they are from the rest of the world. Just let them have their own inside jokes or inside whatever. I mean, just let them do it and just be happy.
And it's also timing. Just let. No, I don't think he said, let me wear a shirt that'll piss off people.
Yeah.
He thought it was fun, and he had a moment. He had a moment where he could shine when he did something that was worthy, and these self-absorbed jerks, and I censored myself, I was not going to use that word, these self-absorbed jerks decide to say, I don't like your shirt, I don't like you're sexist. Well, if you're the only women who I come in contact with, I fucking deserve to be sexist because you're just a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
No.
Let's be blunt. You're a bitch if you're going to criticize my fucking shirt. And I thought it was all that female empowerment. Now you can't even walk down the street because you're so weak. Or I see a shirt. Well, guess what? And people fart in elevators too. People make annoying sounds when I'm trying to read on the subway. There are things in life that are going to annoy you, and you can either deal with it like a mature person, or you can go crying and saying, oh, I don't like that guy's shirt. I don't like the fact that this person told me to have a nice day. Like a fucking baby. Yeah. Like a baby. That's not female empowerment.
Yeah. And that's what, they were saying, oh, no wonder there's not as many women in science. And it's like, women like you will not make it in science. If that deters you, if that is difficult, you could not make it, and we do not want you in there anyways. If you're going to be a jerk about that stuff, you cannot handle the crazy, ridiculous inside stuff that comes out when you're, isolated in your little room doing whatever work you need to get done. Like, she would not survive. But did you see that meme? I think it's a perfect example, and I hate that I'm talking in memes because I'm more intellectual than that. but it's a perfect example of what's going on. So on one side, the Free the Nipple campaign.
The what?
Free the Nipple.
Only one?
Nipple. I thought it was just Free the Nipple, but maybe it's nipple.
I don't know. I don't know the Free the Nipple campaign.
Well, they're trying to have equality with men where you can go around shirtless because equality. I don't know. So there's this female and nothing on at all written, like free the nipples on her stomach and, feminist, rah, rah, rah. On one side, and then on the other side, or on this side, it says female empowerment, and then on the other side has the guy with the shirt and it says oppression. So, like, there's that one, and then there's another meme where it puts the Free the Nipple lady on his shirt, and it says, like, empowerment without the shirt. When it goes on the shirt, it's oppression. Ridiculous. That's entirely true.
You said free the nipple.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you said freeze a nipple. I'm like, what is that?
I mean, I guess if you want to.
Freeze a nipple? This is interesting to me. I guess.
Free them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you had feminists burning bras, and I'm like, who are you punishing? You think men are upset that you're wearing those clothes? Oh my God, all these women are going to go around without bras. I better change my behavior.
I seriously wonder what their motive was. I don't know.
I have no idea. I don't know. I went out with a woman on a date. I don't think she liked it because she said to me, my mother was a bra burner. She burned her bra. And I said, when she was wearing it? Who's that person like that? So yeah, let's see. So you want to talk about abortion a little?
Sure, why not? That's always fun.
All right. Okay. Let me just vent for a minute first, if you don't mind.
Yeah, totally.
One of the things that sort of pisses me off about the debate, first of all, according to the leftist. Well, I don't like calling them pro-choice. You're not pro-choice if it comes to abortion, but not when it comes to guns and schools and health care and all the. Well, I'm not pro-choice in anything but abortion, and suddenly I'm pro-choice. So it's pro and anti-abortion. and they act you're sexist if you disagree with me, if a man has an opinion on abortion. And I could play that card. I could say to a woman, what's your opinion about male circumcision? And she's like, well, shut up, you're not a man, you can't have an opinion. But
Yeah.
I'm a little more mature, and I don't do that. I'm not a sexist. I don't say you have the wrong body parts. And
Yeah.
and it's factually incorrect. I mean, about as many women as men are the same in the abortion issue, about 50-50 on both sides in equal gender. In fact, I think they've done studies where more women actually are anti-abortion, which makes sense. I mean, men want guilt-free sex. They don't have to pay for alimony, and women are emotionally attached to the thing.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. But this is just, I think, insane logic, because it doesn't just affect women, right? There's this lie that abortion only affects women, and that's really the issue that I think it's important to address, because it doesn't only affect women. First of all, women, this might be shocking for some people, give birth to men. So the person they abort might be a man, and that affects them. So it doesn't solely affect women. And the fetus is composed of the sperm and the egg.
Yeah.
I know the woman's doing most of the heavy lifting, at least in the first 9 months, and maybe a little after that, but it's composed of both the sperm and the egg.
Right.
That is as much a creation of the father as it is of the mother, and I think a man should have some say if he wants to have his children flushed down the toilet.
Yeah.
And he has to pay for alimony, and that affects him too. So this is just bullshit. That it's only a women's issue. But okay, sorry for venting. Why don't you talk about?
No, I totally agree with that, and I fully support that. Whoever the father is should have a say as well. I'm not really sure how to. Okay, because I've said my stance on here before, right? In the last show, I thought I said it. I'm not sure. So my stance, I'm anti-state. So I am against the state saying what you should do with your body or what you shouldn't do with your body, or paying for it and things like that. But so when you remove the state, there's still an issue. There's still something to be discussed. It still comes down to, is it life? When does life start? And if it starts while it's in the womb, then it does come to, the man should have an opinion and the woman should have an opinion. And because I am at the point where I believe that, if you want to make it simplistic, that the female owns her body, the fetus owns this body, and to me, it depends on, what kind of method you're using for abortion as to whether or not it is murder or whether or not it is neglect, and that is all based on it being life within the womb at conception. I don't really, I'm not saying it is, I'm just saying it's based on that. But as far as men having a say, I think they absolutely should have a say, because it's half their DNA, it's half their child, and how that would be resolved, I guess, would be, any other dispute in a stateless society, how that would go down. It would be interesting to see how it's resolved if, if one of them wants to have an abortion and the other one doesn't. But back to what I was saying, okay, what I think, and I wrote a note about this on Facebook. I really should start blogging because no one reads notes, but that's so old school. So there are a couple different methods, and it depends on the trimester, it depends on what stage the fetus is at, you are in your pregnancy. And so the most common one is the pill that just simply flushes you out. And whenever you use that, I do feel like it's, you're just kicking someone out of your house. You're not killing them first, you're kicking them out. If people want to argue that's neglect, that perhaps could be made. But as far as murder, I don't think so. Neglect, Then there's the solution where you're injected with solution, they burn to death, and then they're taken out, or there's crushing the head or cutting the spinal cord. That's obviously murder to me, and they're killing the fetus and then taking them out of their house. So I think there are certain methods that should be indisputable even to anti-state people. But again, that all depends on what they view as life. But that's that's something that should be discussed, and I think that's important before even coming to what should a man say be, because if a man says, well, kill it, well, can we kill it? Is that justifiable?
Right.
Or if he says, don't kill it, and the woman says, kill it, or not kill it, abort it, whatever you want to call it. I think it doesn't even matter whether you're talking about the state or not. It still really comes down to what you define as life. And that will be, until we have conclusive evidence scientifically, that will still be the issue. But what I think, if we remove the state, if we don't have the FDA, if we don't have all these regulations that are holding back progress in science and technology, that it could become, an obsolete issue where you can just get rid of the fetus without neglecting or killing the fetus. Mm-hmm. And so that way it's a win-win, and it just comes down to how will you deal with adoption and things like that.
Well, yeah, so I'm sort of warming up to it, but yeah, Walter Block's position is that you can evict and you can't kill. So if, I'm on your property, you can say, get out of here, but you can't shoot me, right? Especially if the option is, I can leave peacefully. And that's true. One of the things that sort of upsets me about the abortion issue is a lot of intellectual dishonesty when it comes to the debate. One, which I've heard a lot of people say, well, should you be forced to give someone kidney or blood? But that's that's a disanalogy. There's a big difference between refusing to give someone life and then ending their life. So if you're going to make the argument that a fetus is a human being, I think science pretty much backs up that is the case. It's not simply refusing to save someone's life, right? It's not being simply passive. Abortion is not a passive act. So I think it is a disanalogy there. But no, it is a very knotty situation. I think evictionism is a good attempt at a compromise, and you had a free market in children, and abortions were not subsidized. I think that would go a long way in reducing these things.
Yeah, and people, some anarchists get very offended when I say that I don't like to say I'm pro-life, because that has, people assume things about me, like I support the state or support forcing people to have children, and I don't. I would support having incentives or disincentives, as you would have for, in any stateless society. It would be based on incentives. But I think this is an important issue, and especially for anarchists, because when I came to anarchy, I'm a bit more consequentialist now, but I'm not. That's still not why I'm an anarchist. I'm a bit more now that I am one. When I came to anarchy, it was because of morality. It was because of the non-aggression principle. It was because I didn't believe that any other person had the right to violate someone else's property and get away with it. There are no exceptions to the rule. And I took these anarchists to be, that they were much more humanitarian than statists, and they were much more peaceful and loving than statists, because they didn't believe in aggressing upon other people and upon their property. And so this issue is really important to me from that aspect, because I think it really reflects upon your humanity. It's natural for women to get pregnant and to be protective of their children, and to be nurturing. And to go against that is terrifying, going against our instincts. We're losing sight of our humanity. And I think it's also beneficial for the state for us to accept these acts and accept even, all these different types of abortion, things like that, and to have no emotions toward it. I mean, even if you get an abortion, if you have emotions toward it, that's understandable. If you regret it, that's understandable. If it was a really hard decision, that's understandable. But if you're going and it's no big deal to you, I really wonder how emotionally stable you are. Because that, even if you don't consider it a life, it would have been someday, and it's, you still would have been a mother. You still should have had those instincts to protect your child, and you didn't. And I think it's beneficial for the state for people to abandon those instincts, because then the state can get away with more atrocities, because people are just accepting it. Like whenever whenever the U.S. government and the U.S. military bomb, other countries, and nobody cares, we're just immune to those emotions, that helps the state, and that helps them get away with it. And so this is an important issue that I don't think anarchists should be so mad about whenever people like you and me, because I think we generally agree for the most part about abortion.
Yeah.
I don't, they get mad at us because, oh, you're telling me what to do with my body, and blah, 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 and you're forcing me to do this. I'm not forcing you.
I mean, first of all, there's no such, sorry to interrupt for a sec, but there's no such thing. You're right, your freedom to swing my fist ends in your face. This, I don't mean to be rude, but this argument against it's my body is freaking retarded. Fine, I should be able to choke you. They're my hands. You're telling me what I can do with my hands?
Yeah.
Yes. If you violate someone else's body with your body, you should be refraining from doing that.
Yeah.
The fetus is not your body. No woman has 4 eyes, a penis, possibly, 4 hands, 2 noses, different 80, 90-something chromosomes, a separate DNA. This is not your body.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, but yeah, my whole point is basically that this issue shouldn't be discussed in the same way that's discussed in politics, is that this can be a humanitarian issue, and some anarchists don't see it that way. And it's scary, because I think it would be beneficial for us to bring back humanity to individuals so that they can see things for what they really are, which is part of, addressing statism.
No, I agree. I mean, I don't think you have to... Look, am I advocating that the government make a law against abortion? No. I mean, I've said this, and I'm not being glib when I say it. If murder was currently legal and the only way to stop it was having government prevent it, murder should remain legal. Government sucks at everything they do.
Yeah.
Enough people in jail. We have enough of a police state. If the only way to solve an issue, even one such as murder, is by having the violence of the state solve it, better to leave it be.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I don't think government should do anything, even stop murder. I think they do a bad job at it. There's no accountability if they're wrong. Their punishments are excessive. In a free society, it would be a tort. It wouldn't be incarceration, and it certainly wouldn't be the death penalty if you refuse. So, and there's all these privacy issues, which is one of the reasons. Sorry about that. I think we got...
Okay, yeah, we're good.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I'm not a fan, and I don't think you are either, of the state prohibiting abortion. Right. But just because you're against something doesn't mean that the solution is government, right? There are other ways, ostracism, not trading with people, torts. I mean...
Even.
Sorry, what?
Even just education about abortion, about the effects of it, about things like that. And or even about protection, birth control. I'm for that. I'm not one of those that's, oh, you can't use anything at all. You must accept all your consequences. I mean, if you can prevent it, that to me is the best option. Honestly,
I agree. I mean, yeah. I mean, I agree. And there's certainly a lot of hypocrisy on the pro-life status. I mean, first of all, I don't think you can be pro-life and pro-war. I mean, that's.
I know.
So, yeah, I mean, that's why I got really annoyed when you had what's his name? The most conservative one who was running recently. Why am I blanking out his name?
Well, in the presidential race?
Yeah, the presidential race.
Santorum?
Yeah, that's it. So Rick Santorum criticized Ron Paul for not being strongly pro-life because he said it should remain on the same level. And I'm like, you support every war known to man, and you're criticizing Ron Paul for being not pro-life? You're insane.
A man that, brought life to so many children in his career.
Right. I'm only pro-life when it comes to fetuses, not when it comes to civilians and soldiers. No.
Yeah. Not to children on the other side of the world. They don't deserve life.
Right. Just a double standard.
Another issue with the abortion issue, I think there still needs to be a social change when it comes to, when we're talking about, sex and protection and things like that, because, I know a couple of people that have had abortions and their entire lives they've been against it. But once they got pregnant, it was almost as if they were more scared of being pregnant before getting married or things like that and would rather have the abortion. Well, the guy was, in both cases, actually. The guy was pushing for it more so than the female.
What, the abortion?
Yeah.
Take that.
And that's, the few cases of my friends that have done that. And that's to me, that's a contributor to abortions, is we have kind of this ideal society, at least in the South, maybe because they're both Southerners, actually, at least in the South, where, okay, no sex before marriage, or if you do have sex, I don't want to know about it. Don't have kids before marriage and things like that. And there's this ideal society, and if you don't, then people look at you, and there's all this pressure. And then there's pressure from the left as well. There's pressure about, now we have the pressure of getting a career first before we get married and before we have kids. And so there's the pressure to have an abortion so that you are able to do that. And so there's these pressures from both sides. And, I feel if we were just a bit more, I hate using the word tolerant because the left hijacked it in such a terrible way, but if we were a bit more tolerant and open and saying, I'm proud of you if you need help, if you want me to buy you some diapers, let me know. If you need help babysitting, let me know. If we became more tolerant and accepting and helping and things like that, then it would probably lower abortion. But I think there's the left pushing for it, and then there's a lot of social ostracizing in a way that results in, pushing for more abortion instead of against it. And there needs to be a middle ground where you don't want to encourage it, or at least I don't want to, but you don't want people to feel so bad about getting pregnant accidentally that they feel forced to do that.
No, that's an excellent point. I agree. I mean, I think obviously, I think you should be in a stable relationship, because I don't think it's healthy, or give the kid up for adoption. I don't think it's healthy for a single parent to have a kid. And if I ran an adoption agency, I would not give children to single parents, all else being equal. I wouldn't. or homosexuals, to be perfectly honest. I think a child needs both.
Well, in a free
I'm not
society, there would be competition, so it's okay for you to do that.
I'm not against homosexuals. Just in terms of becoming a parent, I think a parent should have both a mother and a father.
Yeah.
You know, you want to get married, you want to go eat hamburgers, I'd invite you to my store, but not in this issue. But again, yeah, there'd be other abortion clinics who maybe run me out of business. But I don't think being a single parent is healthy for a kid. And certainly, if you look at the crime rate, most crime is typically from single parents. But I don't think we should say, "Oh, you're a single parent, have a kid," and demonize the person.
Right.
And then in the same breath say, "How dare you get an abortion after doing so?"
Yeah, and there's another thing is a lot of pro-life people like to say, well, there's always adoption, and but they never want to help reform adoption because it's really hard to adopt, first of all. Second of all, well, at least in some areas it is. Second of all, it's still frowned upon to be pregnant in the first place. You're going to carry that child around for 9 months. So, you know, I would love to somehow just, instead of saying, yes, you know, good for you, you can have an abortion, female empowerment, instead of applauding that, I would rather applaud the females that actually give it up for adoption, because that is huge. I mean, you carried this baby for 9 months, and you made the probably smart decision that you weren't ready to take care of this child, but you still sacrificed for 9 months for this person to have a life. I mean, that is huge, and that should have more praise than it gets. I don't know any cases like that, but personally, but it's my 2 cents.
Right. Well, I agree, and also you should be able to pay you should be able to. You know, it's controversial, but I think it's true that I think if you could pay women to not get an abortion, a significant amount, I think that would be good. Now, a lot of people say, well, that's slavery. You're buying children. But no, you're not. You're buying the right to be a parent, right? Yeah. Because if it's really slavery, then you shouldn't be able to adopt, right? A slave is not being able to own their property. If I have slaves and I give you one for free as a gift, is that person less of a slave? It just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Because you're not buying a person, you're buying the parental rights.
Yeah.
And so I think if you were able to do that, that would also significantly reduce.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, any last words?
Oh, I don't think so. Nope.
All right. Well, it was a good show, and great having you on, and we should do this again.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. Take it. All right. What do you